Welcome to the Revelation of Hope podcast with your host, Alvin Bonds II. Join us each week as Alvin explores the relationship between leadership and families by interviewing leaders in different fields all over the world. Alvin believes that the success of tomorrow's leaders begins with the success of today's families.
Hello, and welcome to the Revelation of Hope podcast. I am your host, Alvin Bonds II, and this is episode 27. Today, I interview Justin Lafazan. Before I get to that interview, I invite you to reflect on your life and what is your guiding vision. In today's interview, Justin talks about how critical it is to have a guiding vision. So I invite you to reflect on yours. What gets you up in the morning? In fact, Justin talks about his book, What Wakes You Up. And so I invite you to reflect on what is your vision? What is it that you are working towards? What is it that you are wanting for your life, for your family, for your career, for your leisure? What is that? And how are you using that to guide you in everything you do? Justin Lafazan is just 21 years old, and he has already accomplished so much in his lifetime. Justin is the co-founder of Next Gen Summit, the premier community and conference for millennial entrepreneurs. Since 2014, the Next Gen Summit has served as a vehicle to bring together the world's most talented young entrepreneurs to connect, collaborate, and inspire each other, and to give them the resources they need to be successful. The most recent Next Gen Summit saw over 700 attendees from 6 continents. Over 24 venture capitalists backed by $4.2 billion in capital field pitches from 20 plus innovative startups. Over 50 speakers and 50 mentors share their highest and lowest moments. 6.5 million folks engage with them online, and it trended on Twitter. Next Gen Summit has developed into a must-attend event, winning various accolades including Forbes 1 in 5 can't miss events, Entrepreneur Magazine 1 in 7 of the best events for entrepreneurs under 30, Entrepreneur Magazine 1 in 7 best conferences. Next Gen Summit has partnered with Walmart, Facebook, Google, GoDaddy, Uber, Verizon, and others to empower and support the next generation of leaders. Justin has learned invaluable insights through his experiences and shares them through speaking. Justin is a TEDx speaker. He also speaks at universities, conferences, and does consulting. Justin has also been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine, The Huffington Post, and USA Today. In December 2015, Justin published his best-selling book, What Wakes You Up?, choosing to donate 100% of launch profits to the Next Gen Foundation, a scholarship-granting nonprofit organization that he started. It's an honor to have Justin on for today's podcast. Well, Justin, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Would you take a moment and tell us about you?
Absolutely, and thanks so much, Alvin, for having me. I'm really excited. So my name is Justin Lafazan. I'm currently 21, and I run NextGen, which is a global community of young entrepreneurs. We do two things. On one hand, we try to bring together the world's best and brightest, and on the other hand, we try to support them with the resources that they're going to need on their personal and professional journey. During that process, I also wrote a book called What Wakes You Up?, about how young people can find work that truly matters to them. And I do a whole lot of speaking to audiences of young people who are looking for a little bit of that guidance.
Well, tell us how you got started in entrepreneurship, because you have a pretty amazing story.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I wish I could say there was a more clean trajectory, but oftentimes there isn't. I was just really confused. I was really lost, and I knew that I needed some time to figure myself out and figure out I think my purpose and figure out some of my interests. So I decided to take a gap year right before entering college, and I spent a year traveling. I spent a year speaking, researching, interviewing young entrepreneurs. So I would just, I'd print out the Forbes 30 under 30 list, and I'd cold call, and I'd email, and I'd just talk to people and say, how did you find what you're meant to be doing? And a lot of them would tell me. I get some really interesting responses, and I think over the the course of a year, I tried different things, and hopefully I stumbled upon the right thing. But I definitely know for now, I just stumbled upon something that felt really good and felt really aligned with me.
And I love the fact that you talk about kind of what you're doing now works for you. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is finding what's important. And I guess tell us a little bit about your passion. What drives you every day when you wake up?
Yeah, Alvin, what a great question. I found, ironically, that my passion a long time ago was other people's passions. And it's a pretty weird paradox, but the thing that most excites me is the concept of others being excited by what they are doing. So it took me a little while to figure that out, and it was pretty frustrating once I couldn't quite grasp that. But now, the thing that really wakes me up, gets me out of the bed in the morning, is the chance to work and talk and support people who are doing something that truly matters to them and truly brings them alive. And if I could help more people find that thing and help the people who do know what it is get closer to that thing and working towards those goals, then that's all that really matters for me.
And so can you tell us about the Next Gen Summit? How did this come to you, or where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so there are a lot of really great young people out there. And over the course of my travels, my speaking, I had the chance to meet with so many of these brilliant young people who are changing the world, who have a social cause that they cared so deeply about, but they were not connected in any way. They were all over the world. It was so difficult to find them. And a lot of them were really lonely on their journey. They were doing these marvelous things, but, Alvin, they felt alone. They didn't feel like they had anyone else. That really upset me. So Next Gen Summit was a chance to bring those people together, to say, what if we worked together on these projects, helped each other, built a community that really cared for each other and lifted everyone up. And it was an experiment. But 4.5 years later, at this point, that experiment is starting to prove itself.
And I'm a counselor, and so I have the opportunity to work with different people and different makeups, and that's something that I definitely see as a concern, is people being lost and not knowing what direction to go.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who feels lost or feels like they just have no direction? What would be the first step they should do in trying to discover their passion?
Yeah, Alvin, I'm sure you'd say a pretty similar first thing, in that it's normal and that it's okay not to have it all figured out. Yeah. I think that so many times we're rushing so fast to just have all these answers, and life's a little bit more messy than that. So it's okay to not have all the answers and not have everything figured out. That's number one. But once you realize that maybe you want to get a firmer grasp on what matters to you and do a little deep dive, I think the best way to learn is by doing. So it took me starting 3 companies to start the 4th. Took me interviewing 3 people to figure out what the 4th should be. So as opposed to kind of sitting back and I think reading a little bit, although reading is fantastic, I think doing is incredibly powerful. And I think trying different things, trying different jobs, starting different passion projects, asking people how they found their thing, that process of active exploration will ultimately help you find that thing for you.
And can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, how you overcame, fear or anxiety in launching your book, starting in this business? What did you tell yourself that kept you moving forward?
Yeah, I was, of course, afraid, like so many people are afraid. It's so natural to be afraid. And when I go in front of audiences, I don't really feel the fear in that moment, but I know that I am, afraid. And of course, everyone has fear and stress and anxiety. I had a management professor in college. He closed the class trying to make a final argument for taking risk, and his argument was, he said, the research is conclusive. The literature is absolute in this position, that at the end of their lives, people regret significantly more what they did not do than what they did do. They regret they regret more than they're disappointed. And that message was pretty clear to me. At the end of my life, I'd so much rather be saying, man, I'm upset that this didn't go the way I wanted to, versus I don't want to be in the position of saying, I wish I would have tried. So I have that mentality. That mentality really resonated with me. And every day I just try to do, and I try to live with something where anytime I have a dream, I'm going to chase it. I'm going to go after it until I can no longer, as opposed to I'm just going to wonder what this might have looked like.
And your work has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Huffington Post. You've become an influencer and a thought leader. And I'm curious to know, what is your style or philosophy of leadership?
Yeah, I think it took me a little while to build up, some of the press, of course. It took me a little while to build up some of the authority in my space, but I just tried to be as authentic as possible. I try to be a straight shooter when it comes to the way I talk, the way I advise, the way I lead. My team knows this about me. I just try to be real with people, and I think that I'm not the most polished sometimes, and I just try to be pretty straight with people. So that's my style. I think it's worked over time to build some authority and credibility, because people know what they're getting from me is the truth and what I actually believe, and not just a nice line for the press. But that's been my style, and I think that's a long-term game. It might not work right away, but over the long term, you start to build a reputation. Reputations carry with you. So I try to keep that genuine style.
And would you mind talking a little more? You talk about taking time and building yourself as an authority, and a lot of people want instant success, instant fame, instant followers or likes. Talk to us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I was really upset when success didn't come quickly, Alvin. I read all these books, and I just think, all right, you just follow these steps, and all of a sudden it comes to you. And I think only now am I first realizing how long things take. And it is a grind, and it is a heads down every day, getting up and doing one thing. I read this great quote by Sam Altman, who runs Y Combinator, the largest startup accelerator in the world. And Sam said, running a startup, running a company, doing a project, it's like knitting a quilt, in that every day you do one little motion, and every day you get back, you do that one little motion, but all of a sudden you look up 10 years later and you have this magnificent quilt that you've been building over time. And I think that it's one of the first times in my life that I've started to understand that in order to really build that beautiful quilt, you have to every day get up and do that one little thing that you do really well, and do it over and over and over and over and over again. So for us, it's every day. We get up, we say, all right, who can we find, and how can we help today? These entrepreneurs in our community, and every day. And our hope is we look up 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and we've built this massive community of folks who really care about the work that they're doing.
Yeah. And who has been influential in helping guide, I guess, your direction or your leadership style? Who's been influential in your life?
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my parents, of course. They have been, tremendous role models, and while they're not entrepreneurs themselves, they've provided such a concrete foundation for me on, I think, the way I want to live, with such integrity, with kindness, with pleasure, with fun. And they've just provided a really fantastic emotional foundation for me. My entire family of 2 brothers who have supported me every step of the way. I have a great, friend group who I think has been with me. But I will say that, Alvin, I didn't have, I think, my tribe right away when it comes to founding this company. And a big reason I built NextGen was to find the tribe that I wanted for myself. So it's okay if you don't have people out there, I think, who are supporting you. Go find them. Don't just settle for that. Go look for them, because they are out there. And it took me a whole while to, I think, build that tribe for myself.
And I think that's powerful. And I love this mindset that you've created with NextGen Summit, and finding that tribe of people, because sometimes that's difficult. And I know people that can get discouraged when they don't have that people. What was something to help you continue to push and to seek out, and not only to find that tribe, but to create it for yourself?
Yeah, I think you have to have a guiding vision. If you don't have a guiding vision, a powerful force of purpose that's pushing or pulling you in one direction or the other, I don't think it's possible to stay persistent throughout all of the downsides. That's going to bring people down. It's going to take you off course. So I have a really clear calling that I feel. It's in my mind that every day, regardless of the bad things that happen, I have a calling, I have a purpose. It's bigger than I am. And I think if you could find something larger than yourself to go chase, that will keep you aligned more than so many other things.
And that's powerful, because some of the people I work with, they may not only have, family support, but they may not have friendships and a tribe, like you said. So, that vision, that passion, I think that's going to help drive them. Would you talk to us a little bit about your book? What wakes you up?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was so fun to write. I wrote it over. I have been outlining it for a little while now, but it took me about a year, I think, to publish end to end. So I wanted to tell stories of young people all across the world who found their purpose, found their calling, found things that got them out of bed in the morning, that excited them, and talked about how they actually, figured it out and what they did to achieve it. So it's a collection of both stories, anecdotes, as well as guides on how to first find the work that you're meant to be doing, and then second, to actually go chase it and achieve those goals. After writing it, I realized that I'm so blessed and so grateful and so lucky, and I've been afforded so many opportunities that I think others haven't. So I decided to donate 100% of the profits from the book launch to the Next Gen Foundation, which is a scholarship fund that we run that gives scholarships to folks looking to pursue entrepreneurship, but also attend college. And that's been an incredibly rewarding experience. And I'd recommend anyone looking to write a book, just go for it. You don't need a fancy publisher. You don't need an editor. Start writing and kind of let the words come to you, because writing my book was absolutely a rewarding experience.
Justin, talk to us a little bit about what is next in your life. What is it that you're working towards? What's the next chapter, if you will, of your life?
Yeah, so this summer things changed for me pretty big, and we raised some money for Next Gen, and we hired a team. So we are now full on, all in, 100% on turning Next Gen into a global community of young entrepreneurs. So the team is growing. We're hosting more events every year. We're doing more activations. We're always looking for new members to our community. If you're looking to get involved, Alvin, or anyone, please definitely refer them over to me, because we're full steam ahead at this point. And the next few years of my life for sure are going to be Next Gen, and how we can build Next Gen into a global community.
Yes. I think that's so powerful and so needed. And one of the things that I, work with the families that I work with is on, helping them resolve the issues that may be hindering them from, just day-to-day things. And I personally believe that the success of tomorrow's leaders begins with the success of today's families. What do you think about that?
I love that, Alvin. And I had a cheat code, by having a strong, family foundation. I could not have accomplished what I did without them, and I know how hard it must have been if I didn't have them. So I couldn't agree more, and I think it's by setting that, you need a healthy foundation before you're able to go move mountains.
Yes. I love that, aspect of having a cheat code, and, that's something that, many of us have, but I love what you're creating, that even if you don't have that, you can still create success. You can still create, a life for yourself. That's so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alvin, I think you're doing such a fantastic job of being a force for good in this world, and finding folks who don't have that tribe, and speaking up for them, and helping them, and giving them that part of you that's so special. So I thank you for all of the work you're doing, Alvin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And how will you know when you've reached, I guess, your goal, your vision for Next Gen? How will you know when you've arrived?
Alvin, it's something I've been thinking about pretty recently, and to tell you I had an answer would be a lie. I'm starting now actually to worry a little bit that I might not know, and that concerns me, because my identity right now is pretty tied in to Next Gen and the thing we're building. So I got to figure that one out for myself, to be honest, because I'm not sure. This thing is so powerful and can go so many ways and do so much good that I'm not sure if I'll ever really be done or ever really be ready to kind of take a back seat.
That's awesome. And what that does, that creates an avenue for the people that you are inspiring to join with you and to continue to grow. And I love that you're taking it to a global perspective. I love that.
Yeah, we're just trying to do as much good as possible, Alvin, with the gifts and the talents and the community that we've been so lucky to have built.
Yes. Well, Justin, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we close?
Yeah, Alvin, I mean, I do a bunch of speaking, a bunch of podcasts. My favorite thing is when folks who have listened reach out after, and we can talk, we can connect, I can answer further questions, or we can just kind of hang out. So my email address is Justin, Justin, at ngsummit. That's N as in next, G as in generation, summit as in a mountain.com. So shoot me over an email, and I'm more than happy to chat with you about anything that's going on, and hopefully we can find a way to be helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, as well as providing a rating and review. Every week, I will interview a different leader and invite them to share with us their views and perspective on the relationship between leadership and family. Be sure to visit my website. It's www.alvinbonds2nd.com. That's ALVINBONDSII.com. Have a great day.